The movie opens with our male protagonist sitting on the toilet brushing his teeth. Suddenly, a cute, twisted female ghost appears outside the door. Unfortunately, she has terrible breath, which leads to our protagonist, Bong Pal, punching her with such force that her jaw dislocates. Bong Pal utilizes his ghost fighting abilities to make money. However, his abilities only work on weak ghosts, leaving him unable to deal with stronger ones. As a result, his goal of earning 1 billion won is still far off. At this point, Bong Pal receives a message requesting his services to capture a female high school ghost. He's promised a reward of 10 million won if successful. Upon arriving at the school, he tries to find the ghost, initially mistaking our female protagonist for the target. Sadly, he's completely outmatched by her charm and ends up leaving with a bruised face and a wounded ego. Meanwhile, the female protagonist is having a conversation with a poltergeist with a polka-dotted bow, wondering why she hasn't been able to reincarnate. The poltergeist explains that she still has regrets or was wronged, leading to lingering resentment that prevents her from moving on. The only thing she remembers is her name from her school ID, Kim Hyun-jae. Back to Bong Pal, still fuming from his encounter with the female protagonist, he seeks guidance from his mentor. He learns that young female ghosts like Hyun-jae are powerful and difficult to deal with. Determined to get revenge, he returns to the school with a shiny, stylish sword. This time, not only does he get beaten up again, but he also gets a kiss. This unexpected kiss helps Hyun-jae regain some memories of the accident that led to her death. Just then, the real 10 million won ghost appears, chasing Bong Pal while he's trying to pull up his pants. Despite this, Bong Pal returns to fight the perverted ghost, feeling a responsibility to protect Hyun-jae. Just when he's about to lose, Hyun-jae realizes the ghost's weakness and tells Bong Pal, allowing him to defeat it. Still unsure about who to collect his reward from, Bong Pal notices Hyun-jae's expression and realizes she was the one who hired him. However, ghosts only have gold coins from the underworld as currency, leaving Bong Pal with no way to collect. This makes him feel like he's been tricked and lost money. To add insult to injury, he runs into the school's security guard and police officers at the gate. Unable to verify his identity or contact his family, Bong Pal is thrown into a temporary detention cell. He awaits his only guardian, his useless monk, to come rescue him. While the monk usually hates it when Bong Pal captures ghosts, he now understands that Bong Pal does it to earn money. The 1 billion won is actually Bong Pal's savings for an operation to cure his yin-yang eyes. Hyun-jae, wanting to confirm the memories triggered by the kiss, visits Bong Pal and attempts to kiss him. Bong Pal reacts swiftly, grabbing the flirty ghost by the neck before Hyun-jae can confirm her suspicions. Back at home, he realizes he forgot his keys, but thanks to Hyun-jae, he's able to get inside. Hyun-jae, persistent, follows Bong Pal everywhere, even trying to charm him with her cuteness and begging for another kiss. However, our hero remains unmoved by her charms. The scene shifts to Bong Pal eating lunch when two older, experienced ghost hunters come knocking. They want to collaborate for mutual gain, but Bong Pal rejects their offer outright. In class, Hyun-jae cleverly helps Bong Pal, a bit of a klutz, get into the same group as the beautiful girl he has a crush on. Hyun-jae continues to follow Bong Pal, even becoming his shadow. However, when the useless monk visits his place, he forces Hyun-jae to leave. The monk, despite being useless, can sense the presence of a ghost on her. Seeing Hyun-jae desperately begging for a piece of sausage outside, Bong Pal kindly cooks some extra for her. Hyun-jae, determined to confirm her memories, makes a bold move when suddenly, the monk's scream awakens Bong Pal, ruining her attempt to force a kiss. The next day, Bong Pal receives a new request to capture a ghost. He goes to the haunted lodging with Hyun-jae, but he's doubted because of his young age and lack of professional attire. People shouldn't judge others by their appearance. As Bong Pal is distracted, a hand drags him into a closet. The image of a wife being violently beaten by her husband appears. It's the wife ghost's memory. Meanwhile, the fat husband tries to attack Hyun-jae, but Bong Pal steps in and fights him. The entire scene is recorded by the two spirit-sensing men, the same two who were rejected by Bong Pal earlier. Hyun-jae cracks her neck menacingly. "You're doomed, pal." She swiftly identifies the ghost's weakness. Quickly, Hyun-jae immobilizes him, allowing Bong Pal to kick him in his vulnerable spot, turning him into ashes. The abused wife finally bows her head in gratitude and heads for reincarnation. Hyun-jae's ability to identify ghost weaknesses has saved Bong Pal twice now. Bong Pal finally becomes curious and asks why she's been following him. He realizes that their kiss helped Hyun-jae piece together her fragmented memories. After their lips touch, Hyun-jae freezes and doesn't notice Bong Pal's offer to cooperate. She has vague memories, but nothing significant. However, remembering her poltergeist sister's advice, Hyun-jae is determined to stay by Bong Pal's side. Meanwhile, Bong Pal is annoyed, feeling like he was kissed and then abandoned. To secure her place by Bong Pal's side, Hyun-jae asks him to tutor her, and in return, she offers to help him catch ghosts for 500,000 won, subtracting it from her debt. The scene shifts to the supermarket, where Bong Pal and Hyun-jae are frantically grabbing food, causing a commotion and drawing strange looks from others. Back home, before Bong Pal even gets to eat, the monk returns and helps Hyun-jae dispose of all the meat, leaving her with nothing. He even uses the toothbrush Hyun-jae specifically bought for Bong Pal. This infuriates her. Hyun-jae wakes up hungry and devours everything in the fridge. When she sees the beautiful girl at school, she urges Bong Pal to invite her for lunch. However, Bong Pal, oblivious, simply wishes her a pleasant lunch and runs off. Just then, a spirit-sensing man comes to Bong Pal, pleading for his help with Chun Sang. Chun Sang is trying to atone for his negative online comments that contributed to a female actress's death. Fortunately, Hyun-jae quickly stops the actress, who's obsessed with praise and ignores any warnings. When Hyun-jae is almost strangled by the actress, Bong Pal throws her away. Facing her reflection in the mirror, the actress's heart changes, and she fades away. This scene reminds us that we don't need to worry about fake or genuine praise. Just loving ourselves is enough for happiness. Seeing Hyun-jae exhausted from chasing ghosts, unable to teleport anymore, Bong Pal buys her meat and burns a new pink dress that she's been wanting for a long time. Indeed, beauty shines brighter with beautiful clothes. Hyun-jae, beaming, excitedly shows Bong Pal her new dress, leaving him speechless. You're right, Hyun-jae's moment of joy is short-lived as Bong Pal immediately drags her to work. However, she's still not fully recovered. She wakes up groggy and accidentally wanders into Bong Pal's room, watching him change clothes, which fully rejuvenates her. Meanwhile, Bong Pal's senior ghost hunters are evicted from their rental due to unpaid rent. Hyun-jae reunites with her poltergeist sister, who's on the hunt for true love. Seeing Bong Pal burn a new dress for Hyun-jae, the sister believes he's smitten with her, much to Hyun-jae's delight. However, for Bong Pal, his heart is still captivated by the beautiful girl he has a crush on. As they prepare for class, the professor enters and assesses the situation, but Hyun-jae finds him strangely off-putting. He pretends not to see her, yet avoids her as if she's a ghost. Later, they try to claim their reward for capturing the actress ghost from their seniors, but they're shocked to learn they've moved out. The scene shifts to the beautiful girl, Dio Yeon, handing out materials to her classmates. Upon seeing the professor, her friend is terrified. She witnessed firsthand the professor's true nature. While charming and handsome on the outside, he is deeply cruel, as he murdered a stray cat. Continuing her pursuit of knowledge, Hyun-jae takes the test Bong Pal assigned. He's disappointed by the results and declares that she won't be able to pass the exam to ascend to heaven this year. This leads to a fun teaching session for Bong Pal, but a nightmare for Hyun-jae. Meanwhile, the two spirit-sensing men, broke and penniless, decide to spend the night at a sauna. They ignore Bong Pal's text message demanding payment and go to sleep. However, they're soon startled awake by a bald ghost who scares them. The next morning, Hyun-jae, curious, heads to the storage room. There, she finds a pair of high heels that would perfectly match her new dress. She wants Bong Pal to burn them for her, but he gets angry and tells her she's just a ghost, not to act like she's human. Bong Pal is busy at school, chasing after his seniors to collect his debt. He's promised payment in 2 days, but how they'll manage to pay is a mystery. We later see them dressed as groomsmen, returning to the sauna. They plan to use Bong Pal's ghost hunting skills to make money. Back at home, Bong Pal returns with a lot of groceries, cooking a delicious hot pot to appease Hyun Jae, who's angry about his reprimand concerning the shoes. She's rational, but hunger gets the best of her. Seeing the delicious spread, she forgets her anger. Indeed, the shortest path to a person's heart is through their stomach. Bong Pal receives a call from his senior ghost hunters, inviting him to a pub for a business meeting. After discussing things, they take Bong Pal to the sauna haunted by the ghost. Meanwhile, Hyun Jae, intoxicated for the first time, is completely oblivious to the ghost's attempts to flirt with her. Bong Pal, still searching for the ghost, is unaware of the danger until Hyun Jae screams. This leads him to discover both the ghost and Hyun Jae. Hyun Jae, drunk, is unable to use her powers. She suffers through a series of events, from being choked to being spanked, before realizing the ghost's weakness. She guides Bong Pal, who delivers a knockout punch to the ghost. Despite the ghost's demise, Hyun Jae remains drunk and attempts to teleport, with hilarious results. She finally vents her frustration to Bong Pal, complaining that she's forced to be a ghost, that she hates being a ghost, and that she hates him for scolding her. She then passes out. Bong Pal has no choice but to carry her back home. The scene switches to the mysterious professor who visits the female student's house. He inquires about the pen she found, the same pen he dropped at the scene of the cat's murder. Sensing danger, the girl tries to run. Using some unknown ability, the professor flies through a wall, faster than the Flash, and grabs her by the neck, just as he did when he killed the cat. It was a struggle for Bong Pal to bring Hyun Jae back home. He woke up early to make her hot soup. When he called her to have breakfast, Hyun Jae looked incredibly beautiful to him in the morning light. After breakfast, Bong Pal immediately received his payment from his 2 senior hunters. He and Hyun Jae took the bus to school, and Bong Pal even saved a seat for her. This made Hyun Jae incredibly happy. At the university, Bong Pal excelled academically, but Hyun Jae noticed that his classmates often discriminated against and avoided him. Curious about whether he felt lonely, Bong Pal replied that he felt perfectly fine and wasn't lonely at all. The scene shifts to the 2 senior hunters, who, after their success in capturing the ghost at the bathhouse, are planning to invite Bong Pal to future collaborations. Bong Pal, finding their offer reasonable, agrees to cooperate but declines to join their club. He then meets Seo Yeon, who asks him to work on a project with her. Hyun Jae assumes he'll decline, but Bong Pal, being a gentleman, enthusiastically agrees. Back in class, the professor still calls the name of the female student he murdered, whose body he hid in the forest. His face betrays no emotion, and he appears calm. But the unexplained absence has drawn the attention of several classmates, including Seo Yeon. After class, the professor invites Bong Pal and Seo Yeon out to dinner as a thank you for helping him prepare materials. True to form, Bong Pal pushes Hyun Jae aside when he's with Seo Yeon. Hyun Jae, upset, goes to the park and vents to her sister, who still hasn't found love. She's irritated by Bong Pal's shyness and giggling around Seo Yeon. However, Bong Pal, despite being a bit oblivious, isn't a bad guy. He goes back to school and takes Hyun Jae home. The scene shifts to Hyun Jae, who's asleep, studying for her reincarnation exam. Bong Pal encourages her. Up close, even a beautiful ghost like Hyun Jae feels embarrassed. She then sees a picture of Bong Pal as a child with his parents and realizes that the shoes she wanted him to burn are his mother's. This makes her understand Bong Pal's anger, and she apologizes for the shoe incident. The next day, as promised, the 2 seniors pick up Bong Pal in their beat-up car to capture a ghost. This time, they're headed to an apartment complex where a child's crying has been disturbing the residents at night. Before they can begin their investigation, Hyun Jae notices a nearby playground. A strange girl catches their attention, and they abandon their playground plans to head to the supposedly haunted apartment building. They quickly discover a ghost child in a closet, but the playful child is constantly moving as if he's running from something. The day ends without results, and one of the hunters almost breaks his arm. They return to Bong Pal's house in their old clunker. Remembering the fear in the child's eyes, Bong Pal looks up information about the apartment complex online and decides to return. He realizes that the boy wasn't playing, but was actually running from his stepfather, who had brutally murdered him. The stepfather not only abused the boy, but also beat his mother. After the child's death, the mother went insane. This is the same woman Bong Pal saw at the playground. Although she has become a ghost, the evil in her stepfather hasn't disappeared. Just as he's about to attack the ghost child again, Bong Pal arrives to stop him. Remembering the ghost who killed his mother, Bong Pal unleashes his anger on the stepfather, punching him until he's gone. The ghost child is reunited with his mother for the last time before moving on to the afterlife. The scene shifts to a hiker lost in the mountains. He trips and falls. When he regains consciousness, he discovers a corpse beside him, the female student murdered by the mysterious professor. To make the investigation more difficult, he had burned all of her personal information. Meanwhile, Bong Pal wakes up and realizes it's his mother's death anniversary. He gets dressed and goes to the temple to pray for his mother's soul. On the way back, seeing Bong Pal's heavy heart, Hyun Jai tries her best to cheer him up with silly antics. The scene shifts to Bong Pal and Hyun Jai watching falling petals. Bong Pal gently removes a flower from Hyun Jai's hair. This makes her heart race. Could it be that this young ghost has developed feelings for him? Just then, Bong Pal's Senior Hunters Club announces a field trip. Hyun Jai, who loves to go out, encourages Bong Pal to join. However, upon hearing that Seo Yeon will be there, she immediately tries to stop him. Of course, Bong Pal disappoints her and readily agrees to go. The day of the field trip arrives. The two seniors pick up Bong Pal and Seo Yeon in their beat-up car, constantly praising them as a couple, making Hyun Jai fume. Their destination is the secluded villa of a young, reclusive man in Rang. The hilarious thing is that In Rang's grandmother had changed the house password without telling him. They have to rely on the security team to get in. To make matters worse, In Rang, clumsy as always, falls down the stairs and gets dazed. Surprisingly, he can see Hyun Jai and thinks she's an angel. While everyone is preparing for dinner, to avoid making In Rang look strange, they ignore Hyun Jai and take Seo Yeon out to get more food. They also buy Hyun Jai an ice cream. Hyun Jai is sulking by the lake, but cheers up when she gets the ice cream from Bong Pal. The scene shifts to the university where the mysterious Professor Hai Sung is being questioned by the police about the murdered student. He tries to cover his tracks by giving vague answers, but the police notice his expressions and realize he's hiding something. Meanwhile, Bong Pal's group, after a hearty meal, goes swimming in the river. Hyun Jai sadly watches them have fun in the water. Everyone is focused on taking pictures and doesn't notice the no swimming sign nearby. Later, they return home, drunk, and play games, which Hyun Jai finds more depressing because no one except Bong Pal knows she exists. Bong Pal tries to ignore her, but surprisingly, In Rang, who is completely drunk, can see Hyun Jai again. While playing a truth or dare game, Bong Pal learns, to his dismay, that Seo Yeon is already in love with someone else. Seo Yeon decides to take a walk outside and ends up by the river where Hyun Jai is sitting. Seo Yeon is pulled into the lake by a water ghost, but Hyun Jai, unable to swim, can't help her. Bong Pal, seeing this, jumps in and pulls Seo Yeon to safety. He mistakenly believes that Hyun Jai pushed Seo Yeon into the lake. This upsets Hyun Jai, and she sits by the lake to sulk. Bong Pal goes to buy medicine for Seo Yeon and learns that there is a water ghost in the lake who has drowned many people. He immediately returns, fearing for Hyun Jai's safety. It's strange to see a ghost drowning another ghost, but the script says so it's done. Bong Pal dives into the lake to save Hyun Jai, but the water ghost immediately grabs his leg. However, the ghost is no match for Bong Pal, and with a powerful kick, he defeats the ghost and rescues Hyun Jai. Terrified, Hyun Jai throws her arms around Bong Pal and sobs uncontrollably. The scene shifts to after the field trip. Hyun Jai is daydreaming about the events leading up to her death again when Bong Pal wakes her up. He cancels his date with Seo Yeon to stay home and take care of Hyun Jai. He carries her to her room to make her comfortable and prepares nutritious food for her. It's definitely beneficial to have a boyfriend who's a great cook. Later, Bong Pal receives a text message from Seo Yeon inviting him to study. Hyun Jae has to wait outside while they study, but unexpectedly, Seo Yeon invites Bong Pal to go out. He can't refuse, of course. However, he soon has to return home with Hyun Jae because Seo Yeon ditches him when she sees Professor Hae Sung. While Seo Yeon is talking to the professor, the police arrive and ask her for more information about the case. She learns that her classmate, Hyo Ju, was brutally murdered. Seo Yeon's account further raises suspicions about Professor Hae Sung. Meanwhile, Bong Pal's monk is trying to contact his missing father, unaware that the professor is the one who killed Bong Pal's father and the phone is in his possession. The scene shifts to Bong Pal, who complains to his senior hunters about his lack of clients. He forces Hyun Jae to go to the library to study. Seeing Bong Pal's intellectual side makes her heart flutter. She takes a picture from the field trip and draws on Seo Yeon's face. After checking Hyun Jae's progress, Bong Pal advises her to give up on the university entrance exam. She retorts that this is because he's not a good teacher, and that's why she's not improving. When leaving the library, Hyun Jae suddenly feels like the chanting female student can see her, but Bong Pal tells her not to worry about it. Upon returning home, Bong Pal is shocked to see Hyun Jae, full of energy, studying. The scene shifts to the two senior hunters who buy Bong Pal new clothes to make him look more professional as a ghost hunter, hoping to attract more clients. Sure enough, they get a new case. A mother is calling for their help because her once obedient and diligent daughter has changed drastically. She even says that her daughter is dead and that it's all her fault. She feels that her daughter is possessed and hires Bong Pal's team to save her. Upon meeting the daughter, Hyun Jae recognizes her as the girl from the library. The evil spirit inside the girl tries to take over Bong Pal, but is kicked away by Hyun Jae. However, they are no match for the evil spirit, who quickly escapes from the house and climbs onto the rooftop, intending to end her life. Just as the evil spirit is about to push the girl to her death, Hyun Jae intervenes. When Bong Pal is almost strangled to death, the girl's mother appears. Her love for her daughter convinces her daughter to push the evil spirit out of her body. Bong Pal can now easily destroy the evil spirit. The sight of mother and daughter embracing each other makes Hyun Jae realize that the woman in her dream who cried and called her name was probably her mother or someone who loved her dearly. Hyun Jae's determination to study reignites. After much effort, her math score improves significantly. As a reward for her hard work, Bong Pal agrees to take her to the amusement park. The day of the exam ends, and Bong Pal is about to go to the amusement park to meet Hyun Jae when Seo Yeon gets into an accident in front of him. He takes Seo Yeon to the hospital, unaware that Hyun Jae is still waiting for him, filled with disappointment and a glimmer of hope. After Seo Yeon gets bandaged and confirmed to be safe, Bong Pal rushes to the amusement park but learns that it's closed. Back home, he can't find Hyun Jae anywhere, which worries him. Using some sort of sensing ability, he finds her on the rooftop. Hyun Jae refuses to listen to his explanations. He thought she was genuinely ignoring him because of this, but when he invites her to study, she can't resist. When they arrive at the club, they see a picture from the field trip, including Hyun Jae. In Rang insists that she's an angel, which cheers Hyun Jae up. Bong Pal, though he keeps saying she looks ordinary, can't help but gaze at her with admiration. The joy is short-lived. Hyun Jae hears from Seo Yeon that Bong Pal took her to the hospital to get bandaged the night before, which is why he blew off his plans with Hyun Jae. She goes home and looks at the picture of Seo Yeon and Bong Pal, feeling envious that Seo Yeon is alive and Bong Pal can like her. After class, Bong Pal declines Seo Yeon's dinner invitation and returns home to Hyun Jae, feeling guilty. He also buys a lot of meat to satisfy Hyun Jae's appetite, which makes her happy and forgets her anger. During dinner, Bong Pal promises to take her to the amusement park the next day and even gifts her a stylish suit to wear to work. The next day, one ghost and one human, in their cool outfits, drive in the beat-up car to an abandoned mental hospital. The hospital is steeped in a heavy, dark energy. as it was a place where a corrupt doctor tormented and killed many patients. Upon arrival, the scene of the operating room triggers a memory for Hyun-jae. They explore the hospital but lose their two cowardly companions, Chun-sang and In-rang, who tend to wander off. It's true what they say, not scared of strong enemies, but afraid of unreliable teammates. Hyun-jae is almost crushed by a wooden cabinet on the upper floor, but Bong-pal saves her just in time. She discovers that the list of deceased patients isn't 7, as reported, but 8. Before she can process this, she hears the shouts of the two useless idiots. This makes Hyun-jae realize that the ghosts are begging for help, not trying to harm anyone. They died without proper burials and are nameless wandering spirits. With the help of the police, the spirits finally find peace. After the incident, the two senior hunters are suspicious about the existence of a fourth member in their team. Bong-pal doesn't hide it and introduces Hyun-jae to them. But when In-rang tries to touch Hyun-jae's cheek, Bong-pal yells at him, saying he can't touch someone else's girlfriend like that. Then they all go to the amusement park, but it's already late, and the only thing still open is the Ferris wheel. Hyun-jae says she likes the Ferris wheel, so Bong-pal agrees. As the Ferris wheel slowly rotates, Bong-pal expresses surprise that she enjoys slow rides. Hyun-jae reveals her true feelings, saying she likes him too. Embarrassed, she runs off. Hyun-jae happens to stop by the veterinary clinic where Professor Hae-sung works. His eyes become sharp and piercing. However, Bong-pal arrives just in time, and Hyun-jae runs away from him again. Back home, Hyun-jae doesn't know what to say to Bong-pal, so she pretends to be asleep. Bong-pal, on the other hand, can't help but smile to himself in his room. They're both more awkward than usual the next morning. They even avoid each other on the same side. And when they reach for food, they pick the same dish. It's clear that Hyun-jae isn't the only one flustered. Bong-pal is just as awkward. They soon get a call from Chun-sang assigning them a new task, and they work together perfectly. Chun-sang and In-rang arrive to applaud and encourage Bong-pal and Hyun-jae. In-rang even presents Hyun-jae with a pair of high heels she really likes. But Bong-pal says she hates the shoes and refuses to accept them, breaking his senior hunter's heart. After completing the mission, Bong-pal and Hyun-jae return home, still awkward. To make things more natural, Hyun-jae suggests playing rock, paper, scissors to climb the stairs. The winner gets to make a wish. Although he finds the game childish, Hyun-jae says she needs new shoes because of him. He thinks her wish will be for the shoes. But when Bong-pal lets her win, she says her wish is for them not to be awkward anymore, implying that she's never confessed her feelings to him. She thinks that's the only way she can stay by his side for a long time. Just then, Hyun-jae feels her body disappearing. Bong-pal notices and runs over to embrace her tightly, begging her not to disappear. The scene shifts. After returning home, Bong-pal suggests that Hyun-jae move into his room to sleep, as sleeping in the living room is too hot, and she hates the heat. Sensing Bong-pal's care, Hyun-jae is very happy. The next morning, Bong-pal, the responsible one, sets out a table full of food, but the young female ghost is behaving unusually, unlike the hungry ghost she normally is. At the club, the handsome guy, the barista, is diligently preparing food for Hyun-jae, but only Bong-pal arrives, leaving him very disappointed. The scene shifts again. Bong-pal returns home, applying the most charming dating techniques taught by Chun-sang to impress Hyun-jae. Hyun-jae, however, only sees him as acting weirdly, leaving him embarrassed. After eating their fill, the two romantically watch the stars together. Bong-pal, with his knowledge, explains the constellations to Hyun-jae. The next morning, Hyun-jae expresses her desire to date like normal couples, and Bong-pal immediately supports her. He takes her to choose new clothes, goes to the fair, ignoring everyone's stares, watches a movie without hesitating to choose couple seats, and even orders a set meal for two at a restaurant. I don't believe that he has no dating experience, you guys. The scene shifts again. From the surveillance camera near the crime scene, the police have identified the Professor Hae-sung's car, gradually clearing up all doubts. Hyun-jae, meanwhile, has another recurring dream, making her terrified. Bong-pal sits with her to help her calm down. Hyun-jae asks Bong Pal when he started seeing ghosts. He tells her that he's been seeing them since childhood because he has bad luck. She feels empathy for this man, and at the same time feels lucky that he can see her. Happily, Bong Pal feels the same. The police are questioning the professor when they receive news that one of the suspects, a friend who had a crush on the victim, committed suicide in the dormitory. The truth is that the professor was the one who committed the crime and used the friend as a scapegoat. However, the police still have a nagging feeling about the result. The professor, after leaving the police station, encounters Bong Pal and Hyun-jae at the door and deliberately invites them inside. When the professor sees Hyun-jae in his office, he tries to attack her, but Bong Pal enters, forcing him to let them leave. The scene shifts again. This time, Bong Pal and his team go to a luxurious mansion where a young man seems to be possessed, constantly screaming in fear and wanting to die. After examining the situation, Bong Pal discovers that the ghost tormenting the man is his former girlfriend. It appears that his family dislikes the girl, who has since left. Bong Pal schedules a meeting with the family for 2 days later. As they leave the house, Chun Sang says that humans and ghosts can't have normal relationships, causing Hyun-jae to suddenly realize that other people are judging Bong Pal for dating her. But Bong Pal is resolute and says he doesn't care what others think because he only likes Hyun-jae. The scene shifts. Back home, Hyun-jae notices a figure on the television in a video that the monk is watching, but Bong Pal doesn't pay attention and turns it off. The monk, meanwhile, is sitting outside drinking and feels suspicious about Professor Hai-sung after interacting with him. Back at the club, a man approaches Bong Pal's group, asking for their help because a scary ghost has been appearing lately. But when they arrive, they realize something is off. There's no ghost at all, just a senior who's been hiding in the school for a long time. The scene changes again. The rich boy, unable to forget his ex-girlfriend who left him, goes to the bridge where they used to meet. As he tries to end his life, Bong Pal jumps in and saves him. On the brink of death, the image of his girlfriend appears before him, and memories of their first encounter come flooding back. He was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor, but with her support, like a vitamin boost, he regained his faith in life and a strong desire to live. Just as he woke up after a successful surgery, he heard that his girlfriend had died in an accident while rushing to the hospital to see him. Ever since, he has been tormented, yearning for their reunion. He doesn't know that she has always been by his side, wanting him to continue living his life and let go of his worries. With that, she ascends to heaven. They will meet again in another cycle of reincarnation. If destiny is real, as Bong Pal worries, Hyun-jae encourages him to live in the present moment and not worry about the future or fear it. The scene shifts again. Early in the morning, as Bong Pal returns from the market, he sees Hyun-jae studying hard. Worried about her overworking herself, he snatches the book away. While they're playfully chatting, the monk suddenly returns, furious upon seeing Bong Pal living with and having feelings for the female ghost, Hyun-jae. His mother died because of an evil spirit, and his efforts to make money are to escape his yin-yang vision. Faced with the monk's question, Bong Pal doesn't hesitate to declare his love for Hyun-jae and tells him not to interfere. But Hyun-jae is deeply saddened by what she hears. The monk buys a birthday cake and returns to Bong Pal's house, as it's his birthday, with only Hyun-jae at home. Even though he's useless, he can sense Hyun-jae's presence. He pleads with her to leave Bong Pal, all for the sake of Bong Pal's normal and peaceful life. He feels guilty because, as a child, he failed to eliminate the evil spirit residing within Bong Pal, allowing it to escape and kill his mother. If Hyun-jae stays with Bong Pal, he will never be able to experience normal love. Though Hyun-jae feels a mix of emotions, she still decides to celebrate Bong Pal's birthday with him. On a cruise ship, Hyun-jae expresses her hope that Bong Pal will live happily, a hint that she will leave him. You're right, Hyun-jae and all the memories related to her vanish from Bong Pal's life. Meanwhile, Hyun-jae, with nowhere to go, wanders the streets. In the days that follow, Bong Pal tirelessly searches for her, while she sits in a merry-go-round, reminiscing about him. It takes a lot of effort, but Bong Pal finally finds her in a park. To completely extinguish her feelings for him, She delivers the most heartbreaking words to Bong Pal. She says that she doesn't want to be alone in this relationship, as only Bong Pal can see her, and that she isn't happy in this relationship. Even so, Hyun Jai's heart can't lie about her feelings as tears fall. The game is over. I wish you happiness with the person you love. After being heartbroken by the ghost, Bong Pal seeks solace in alcohol. He's halfway through his sorrow when he encounters his two senior buddies. In Rang, who also had feelings for Hyun Jai, feels just as heartbroken as Bong Pal when he learns that she has left forever. As a result, only the one who doesn't love is the winner. Chun Sang, still sober, drags his two grieving buddies home. The next morning, after waking up from his hangover, Bong Pal decides to throw away all of Hyun Jai's belongings, trying to forget her forever. Meanwhile, Hyun Jai is busy in an internet cafe, searching for a class called Dehan that has appeared in fragments of her memories. While on her way to this class, memories of the accident that led to Hyun Jai's death come flooding back. Just as she falls, the rain begins to fall, and she finds herself in the Dehan class. Afterwards, Hyun Jai feels extremely uneasy, unaware that Professor Hai Sung is watching her from afar. He is the one who caused Hyun Jai's accident. It seems he is searching for something that Hyun Jai possesses. The fragments of her memory continue to connect, leading her to the hospital where she underwent surgery after the accident. Here, she meets her mother again and follows her home. The scene shifts. Bong Pal and his group are on their way to a mission when they suddenly crash into a spaced-out ghost standing in the middle of the road. Suddenly, the ghost pops out from under the car, frightening the two seniors out of their wits. Bong Pal immediately charges at the ghost and pummels it. At that moment, a car speeds toward him, leaving him no time to dodge, and he gets injured. On the other side, Hyun Jai is still following her mother back to the hospital. A doctor pushes a patient past her, and it's none other than Hyun Jai's body. It turns out Hyun Jai didn't die, but has been in a deep coma, causing her spirit to wander for the past 5 years. However, at the door of the emergency room, the professor's killer gaze is fixed on Hyun Jai, and he won't let her go so easily this time. While Hyun Jai meets Bong Pal at the hospital and wants to tell him about her living body, the professor, with evil energy, tries to kill her still breathing body. This causes Hyun Jai's spirit to experience difficulty breathing and become transparent, gradually fading away. But then, a miracle happens. Hyun Jai awakens, leaving Professor Hai Sung shocked and frustrated. Bong Pal, after the accident and Hyun Jai's inexplicable disappearance, fell into a state of hibernation, or unconsciousness, as you might call it. Cut to the scene. After waking up, Hyun Jai seems to have temporary amnesia. The evil professor, hearing this news, decided to spare her life for now. Meanwhile, the monk, upon hearing about Bong Pal's accident, rushed to the hospital, only to hear the two idiots Chun Sang and In Rang proudly introduce their ghost hunting club. The monk, who didn't like it at all, pinched their ears, almost making them lose them. When In Rang went out to buy something, he accidentally passed Hyun Jai's hospital room and immediately told Bong Pal about it. However, Hyun Jai acted like she didn't know him, leaving him dumbfounded. Back at home, the two older brothers visited Bong Pal, explaining the accident and the reason for Hyun Jai's temporary amnesia. The monk, for the first time, encountered this kind of situation. Looking at the items Bong Pal had thrown away, he once again determined to win Hyun Jai back. Meanwhile, Hyun Jai was trying to cross the bridge in the hospital when she slipped and fell backwards. Unexpectedly, the professor appeared at that moment and volunteered to push her back to her room, as a way to check if she really had amnesia. Afterward, Bong Pal went to see her, trying to help her remember him. However, Hyun Jai truly didn't remember her boyfriend named Bong Pal. She thought he had problems for constantly saying that they had lived together when he was a ghost. Furthermore, he wasn't her type. Despite Hyun Jai's relentless rejection, Bong Pal didn't give up and declared that he would come every day until she remembered him. It seems like persistent really does pay off. Luckily, Hyun Jai recovered her memory quickly. Coincidentally, after leaving the treatment room, she ran into the professor in the hallway. Since she no longer had the memories, in her eyes, he was still her ideal type. On the other hand, Bong Pal, with his persistent spirit, used food to win over Hyun-jae's heart. And sure enough, this method worked best. After eating her fill, Hyun-jae stood up, dusted herself off, and wanted to return to her room. But fate had other plans, and she stumbled right into Bong Pal's arms. When she realized that her phone had fallen near Bong Pal, she wanted to go back and retrieve it. However, she felt like someone was following her, and it turned out to be the evil doctor in the hospital, who had a history of killing patients in their beds. When investigated, he committed suicide, defying all responsibility. Just as he was about to attack Hyun-jae, her instinct kicked in, and she yelled out Bong Pal's name. Immediately, Bong Pal sped to Hyun-jae's location and engaged in an intense fight with the ghost doctor. Hyun-jae, overwhelmed by the situation, fainted. After she was brought back to her hospital room and diagnosed with no problems by the doctor, Bong Pal felt relieved and left. Upon waking up, Hyun-jae, to protect Bong Pal, scolded her mother, telling her not to blame him because he was a kind person and that her fainting was not related to him. While her mind was filled with scattered thoughts, Hyun-jae received a text from Bong Pal. She questioned him about what she saw before passing out, but he refused to answer. As the saying goes, those who are destined to be together will eventually return to each other, right? She was quite happy just texting with him. They spent so much time texting that they both fell asleep until morning. It was the day Hyun-jae was discharged. On his way to the hospital to celebrate her recovery, Bong Pal went into a jewelry shop and bought Hyun-jae a beautiful necklace, a gift that had a profound meaning. It was a symbol of destiny. Life, however, didn't go as planned. As he was excitedly approaching Hyun-jae, Bong Pal ran into a wall of parental opposition. Her mother demanded that he stop seeing her daughter because she had fainted for no reason after being around him. However, the same mother was very enthusiastic when she saw Professor Hai-sung come to celebrate her daughter's discharge. A man who is both handsome and mature, I would be smitten, let alone Hyun-jae's mother. After that, the professor drove the two back home, but Hyun-jae was constantly searching for Bong Pal's presence, unaware of the harsh words her mother had said to him. Returning home with a heavy heart, Bong Pal was told by the monk that Hyun-jae would live happily as a human if she didn't remember that she had died and been a ghost, making Bong Pal even more sorrowful. Meanwhile, in the professor's car, Hyun-jae's mother kept asking her about her reckless wandering that led to the accident. However, Hyun-jae didn't even remember why she went to Seo-eun at that time. Returning to her familiar room made Hyun-jae feel more cheerful. She lovingly smiled and told her mother that she would keep kissing her forever. Cut to the scene. The two older brothers truly cared about Hyun-jae, even creating a banner calling for an investigation into her accident. While meeting Bong Pal at the schoolyard, Hyun-jae coincidentally appeared, having been invited to attend the professor's guest lecture. When she tried to sit next to Bong Pal, Seo-yeon jumped in, causing her to fume. But when she saw Bong Pal injured because of her, she felt a tinge of affection. During class, Hyun-jae and the professor constantly exchanged glances, catching Bong Pal's attention. Meanwhile, at the police station, the monk was recounting how he saw Hyun-jae's student ID in the professor's office when he encountered the two older brothers who had been brought in for plastering the entire neighborhood with posters. This time, the police had more suspicions about the professor and decided to reopen the investigation into Hyun-jae's accident. Meanwhile, the beautiful Seo-yeon mustered all her courage to express her feelings for Professor Hai-sung, only to receive a cold apology from him. Cut to the scene. Sitting next to Bong Pal on the school grounds, Hyun-jae felt a sense of familiarity. She told him about her plan to catch up on her missed years of schooling so she could keep pace with everyone else. This once again made Bong Pal ponder the monk's words. Was it better for Hyun-jae to forget or remember the memories of their time together? After some thought, he encountered a heartbroken Seo-yeon on the street. The two went out to drink their sorrows away, but when Bong Pal went to the bathroom, Hyun-jae called. When she heard Seo-yeon answer, she rushed to the scene to reclaim her boyfriend, who constantly claimed to be her friend. Seeing her jealous outburst, Bong Pal was delighted and kissed her forcefully, only to be kicked in the face for his trouble. Later, Hyun-jae helped him bandage his wound, and Bong Pal had the chance to give her the necklace he had bought earlier. Whether she remembered or not, Hyun Jai's feelings for Bong Pal remained unchanged. When the heart is set on someone, it's hard to forget. As soon as Hyun Jai arrived home, her mother left for a while, leaving her alone. Nearby, a pair of pale white eyes gazed at Hyun Jai, but she didn't notice. Professor Hai Sung felt uneasy and burned all evidence related to Hyun Jai to prevent the police from investigating. Even though Hyun Jai had amnesia, she could still see ghosts. When a female ghost scared her half to death, she immediately called Bong Pal and told him about her current yin-yang eyes. He empathized with her fear, embraced her, and promised to protect her. Later, in front of a convenience store, Hyun Jai curiously asked Bong Pal about his first experience seeing a ghost. He revealed that he was also scared at first, but then the monk encouraged him not to avoid his fear. Only by overcoming it could he move on with his life. Worried that Hyun Jai might have trouble sleeping, Bong Pal stood outside her house and called her, waiting until she actually turned off the lights and went to sleep before returning home himself. Meanwhile, back at the house, the monk, sensing that Hyun Jai had seen a ghost, reassured Bong Pal, saying that it was probably just temporary, and urged him to always be there to protect her. Cut to the scene. Hyun Jai had a psychological therapy session with the professor that day. Seeing that she wasn't feeling well, Hai Sung reached out to touch her head and inquire about her condition. Suddenly, the sound of his clock tick roused some fragments of Hyun Jai's memory from the time of the accident. At this moment, the two older brothers recalled the monk's request to keep an eye on Bong Pal, reporting any strange behavior by the professor. Although they felt uneasy, they couldn't figure out the reason. They went to the gym, where they happened to see Hyun Jai and Bong Pal warming up. The two decided to teach Hyun Jai some self-defense skills in case she encountered ghosts. But unexpectedly, Hyun Jai actually attacked during training, leaving Chun Sang unable to sing anymore. Feeling that their physical training wasn't impressive enough, they decided to engage in mental exercise. Hyun Jai seemed happy, but later, upon returning home, she learned that her mother had decided to rent out their current house and move back to her hometown to live with her father. Cut to the scene. Meanwhile, the monk received a call from the police confirming the discovery of Bong Pal's father's body. Although he had anticipated this, he was still shocked to see the body. The police said they suspected foul play and would need an autopsy to determine the exact cause of death. After that, the monk went home to see Bong Pal and wanted him to go and see his father. Who would have thought that after all these years, the place where father and son would meet again would be a funeral home? Bong Pal couldn't believe his eyes and kept asking why, but who could answer him? Lost in thought about whether or not to agree to an autopsy for his father, Bong Pal ignored everything around him, completely dismissing Hyun Jai's calls and messages. While Hyun Jai went to Bong Pal's house and couldn't find him, she received a call from the professor inviting her to go on an outing to the countryside. However, she received a call from the monk along the way, informing her of Bong Pal's current situation. Hyun Jai, without hesitation, rushed to be by Bong Pal's side, providing him with emotional support. There is no pain greater than the loss of a loved one. But as she looked at Bong Pal's father's memorial photo, she seemed to remember meeting him at the temple before her accident. She recalled Bong Pal's father giving her a cloth bag, which contained only a piece of paper with Uncle Bong Pal written on it. The monk, hearing this, said that it was very important to Bong Pal, and she should tell him when she remembered. Stepping outside, the monk froze for 10 seconds when he saw the professor paying his respects to Bong Pal's father. He couldn't control himself and ran to expose Hai Sung as the evil spirit that had possessed Bong Pal's body in the past, causing the death of his parents. He now wanted to warn the monk for his curiosity. Furthermore, if it weren't for him, Hai Sung's body wouldn't be able to survive. He was the one who granted him power, and the two had merged into an inseparable entity. He intended to teach the crazy demon a lesson, but he was too strong, and the monk wasn't his match. He was punched and suffered great pain. However, to protect Bong Pal, he hid this encounter from him. Cut to the scene. After the funeral, Bong Pal returned home to clean up the storage room. He opened the letters his father had written for him and shed tears of regret for not paying attention to him. When Hyun Jai returned home, she received an order from her mother to move out. While her mother didn't forbid her from dating Bong Pal, she had to retake the college entrance exams before she could stay with him. With no other choice, Hyun Jae decided to visit Bong Pal one last time before leaving Seoul. However, he was consumed by his regrets and didn't want to see Hyun Jae. Coincidentally, she passed by the professor's veterinary clinic. He, not willing to let her go this time, invited her in to talk. After a while, when the police arrived to investigate him, he learned that Professor Hae-sung was deeply connected to his father's death. He then asked the monk about it and learned another truth: the teacher wasn't a human. The evil spirit that had possessed him when he was a child was manipulating the professor's mind. Moreover, it was now targeting Hyun Jae, as she was holding on to the item that Bong Pal's father had entrusted her with, the very thing the evil spirit was searching for. That item, known as a talisman, was prepared by Bong Pal's mother, who had a destiny entwined with heaven. However, it brought misfortune to her. This talisman, infused with all the spiritual energy of Bong Pal's mother, would be the weapon to destroy the evil spirit's root. Bong Pal also learned that Hyun Jae was the person his father had asked to deliver the talisman, and that the professor had caused the accident to escape with it. No one knew where the talisman was now, but Bong Pal knew he had to find Hyun Jae immediately. Meanwhile, Hyun Jae had recovered all the memories of the accident, realizing that the professor had harmed her. However, Bong Pal arrived too late. Seeing the necklace on the ground, he was certain that the professor had taken Hyun Jae. The police immediately surrounded the professor's hospital, desperately searching for clues, but it seemed he had anticipated this and had prepared for it. Cut to the scene. The two older brothers, following the monk's instructions, trailed the professor. When they saw him abduct Hyun Jae, they were about to be silenced, but a nosy security guard intervened and was sent to be reincarnated. Thanks to this, Chun Sang and In Rang escaped death. It takes a lot of effort to carry those two around, you know? But poor folks are often unlucky. At the crucial moment, their beat-up car refused to start, allowing the professor to disappear. They couldn't even remember the license plate number, making it even harder for the police. Ignoring the monk's advice, Bong Pal believed that Hyun Jae was in danger because of him and vowed to find her. With his extremely logical deduction, Bong Pal guessed the professor's travel route. The group of three quickly located the professor's destination based on the location data. Hyun Jae, still unconscious, remembered where she hid the talisman, and when she awoke, she faced the evil spirit. He began to manipulate Hyun Jae, blaming all her misfortunes on Bong Pal's family. Seeing her resistance, he threatened her mother's life to force her to reveal the location of the talisman. At that moment, Bong Pal's group arrived. Sensing danger, the professor dragged Hyun Jae away, unaware that she had managed to leave a message for Bong Pal about the talisman's location, Myungsung University. Cut to the scene. The monk arrived to reclaim the long sword he had received from the gods. He was determined to correct his past mistakes. This time, he was willing to sacrifice his own life to the gods in hopes of eliminating the evil spirit. Meanwhile, Hyun Jae had brought Hae-sung to the old Myungsung University. Although the monk didn't want Bong Pal's group to get involved, the script demanded they be cool, so they had to follow. So focused on finding Hyun Jae, they forgot that the place had been ravaged by fire. The school's lockers were buried in the subway station's basement. The evil spirit had just retrieved the talisman, a beaded necklace, when he was hit with pepper spray from 5 years ago, which had fallen out of Hyun Jae's locker. He tried to steal the talisman back, but hadn't even run a few steps before being knocked unconscious by the evil spirit. In the end, the object that seemed like the key to destroying the evil spirit ended up in his hands. He declared that Hyun Jae's role was over and intended to send her to the afterlife. But luckily, Bong Pal arrived just in time to buy some time. This was exactly what the evil spirit wanted, as he craved the body that inherited Bong Pal's mother's good fortune. Just as Hae-sung was about to take over Bong Pal's perfect body, the monk arrived with the long sword, enhanced with increased lethality, ready for a showdown. True to the script's arrangement, despite their combined efforts, Bong Pal and the monk were no match for the evil spirit, Hae-sung. Unable to bear seeing Bong Pal tragically corrupted, the monk used all his remaining strength to slice through the evil spirit. The injured evil spirit could no longer inhabit Hai Sung's body and was expelled. Only the talisman could destroy him at this moment. Fortunately, as the monk fell, Hyun Jai managed to throw the bracelet to Bong Pal, enabling him to unleash a thunderous punch that easily shattered the evil spirit. We thought the monk had sacrificed himself, but the screenwriter wasn't ready to let him go, just like Professor Hai Sung, who somehow survived. It was a miraculous feat for a villain. After all, Hai Sung was just a pitiful child manipulated by the evil spirit. During interrogation, when asked about the people he had killed, Hai Sung readily admitted his crimes, willingly facing the law. The wicked shall face their just punishment. Meanwhile, Bong Pal and the monk were drinking and talking about Hyun Jai's upcoming move. Everything should return to normal. However, faced with her parents' opposition, Bong Pal couldn't do anything but encourage Hyun Jai to study hard and pass her exams. He would also try to change Hyun Jai's mother's perception of him. All he asked was for her to wait for him. Time passed, and Hyun Jai, though still able to see ghosts, was stronger and no longer afraid as before. Another year of school began. Bong Pal had become more open-minded and participated in a new student orientation event. He unexpectedly met Hyun Jai, a new student in this year's intake. After safely escorting Hyun Jai home, Bong Pal received a call from the police station, asking him to bail out the monk. Seeing him fighting for a living, he couldn't resist inviting him to live with him. Cut to the scene, Hyun Jai attended an extracurricular activity, deliberately hiding it from Bong Pal. However, thanks to Rang sending him a video, Bong Pal quickly arrived to take her home. A wave of jealous vinegar immediately enveloped Hyun Jai. This time, he also learned that Hyun Jai's mother had moved to Seo Unni, so he boldly asked her parents for permission to officially date. Finally, Hyun Jai's mother realized Bong Pal was a good person and allowed her daughter to be with him. After all they had gone through, Hyun Jai and Bong Pal decided to return to the ghost-catching club. Their ultimate goal wasn't just to make money, but to help lost spirits find their way back to the right path. That was the true meaning of their yin-yang eyes, a gift or a curse.